Hello, everybody. You are watching Out of Order. My name is Anthony Buono.
My name is Ben Mayer.
And today we're going to give an update on the Montana Senate race. This is the most important, second most important Senate race in the country in 2024. It's either this or Ohio Senate race with Sherrod Brown. So we have Jon Tester going up against Tim Sheehy in the 2024 Montana Senate race. This race will basically decide who controls the Senate, Democrats or Republicans. I want to give a little insight into what Jon Tester has to do if he wants to win, specifically related to the Native American community in Montana. So Native Americans make up 6.5% of the population of Montana, where his race is taking place. Jon Tester's been around for a while. He first won his first election in 2006, and he's been a very successful campaigner throughout his time. One of the ways he's been so successful is his alliance with the indigenous population of Montana. In 2018, when he was up for re-election, he only won by 18,000 votes. And that's the tribal vote making the difference in that regard.
Yeah.
So I want to give a little insight here. Native Americans live a totally different life than a traditional American citizen in Montana or the rest of the country. 30% of residents on the Blackfeet Reservation, this is one of the bigger reservations in Montana, 30% of people there live below the poverty line. That's compared to just 12% of Montanans overall. 39% of them do not have health care at all, and the employment rate on these reservations is below 50%. So they live a very, very different life. They don't have access to they don't have access to health care, and they do not receive as much federal funding as a traditional state would. So that's one of the things that Jon Tester has been fighting for, and we'll talk about that. Tribal leaders have said that Tester has a really good track record of pushing policies that are important to Native Americans. This is a really good example of that. The Little Shell Tribe had been lobbying Congress for 150 years in order to gain federal recognition. And tribal federal recognition is crucial because this tribal sovereignty is what gets them access to federal resources for healthcare, education, and larger economic development. Tester finally got them federally recognized in 2019 because he was able to put an amendment into the National Defense Authorization Act. And because of that, he was able to get healthcare access into this tribe. And the tribal chair, Gerald Gray, gives him all the credit in the world for that.
That's huge. It makes me think of this time of shifting political coalitions that we're in. And we talked about how we think that Black and Hispanic voters might become more swing voters because they're not really treated any differently by the law anymore. So they don't have to vote maybe specifically for Democrats to make sure that the law treats them equally. However, these Native American reservations, they are very dependent on how they're treated by the law, right? That the letter of the law matters here, and to make sure that you have representatives in Congress on your side, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, they asked Republicans about that vote specifically. The guys who were doing the interviews about this and writing this news piece, they were interviewing these Republicans, and they really don't have much to comment on. They're just not. They know that getting the Native American vote isn't going to happen for the Republican candidates.
Interesting,
but they do know that they might not vote for Jon Tester because of apathy. And so right now, the question isn't who the Native Americans will vote for. It's more of if they'll even go up and show them vote at all. And it's really hard to vote as a Native American. It's actually very difficult. These counties that these tribal communities live in, think of them, I think one of them is double the size of Rhode Island. So Rhode Island's the smallest state in the U.S., but having that the size of your county times 2, that's a big county. And so a tribal member living in Babb, this is up near the Montana-Canada border, would need to drive 140 miles round trip to vote in Cutbank. And that's the only place where there's an early polling location.
That's crazy.
So you have to drive 140 miles round trip in order to vote early.
It's ridiculous.
That's a systemic problem. That's not just apathy. So I had a problem with the article's framing of it being apathy because it's almost like, no. I'm sure many of these people would love to vote if it was way easier.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It's not, it's because you have to drive 140 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not because they don't care.
They're just trying to be kind of efficient, which makes sense because Montana's a place that has less than 1.5 million people, right? So it's kind of like, okay, do we really have to put more polling places out? But if you have to drive, like, make them drive 30 miles.
I know,
right?
at the minimum, dude.
Yeah.
Or at the maximum.
70
Sorry.
miles. You're talking about an hour and a half just to go vote.
No, it's insane.
Yeah.
But now I want to give so let's talk about the voting turnout rates of the Native Americans. So here's I have on a chart on our notes here. We have the Montana statewide participation rate in the election, and then specific counties. And these counties are highly Native American counties. So the two counties I'm looking at are Glacier County and Blaine County.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that when Jon Tester's on the ballot, the Blaine County turnout rate is actually equal or higher to the Montana statewide.
Yeah.
So Jon Tester has a unique ability to get the Native American vote out in a way that no other Democrats really do in the state. So that, I think, is a huge testament to the representative he's been, the election campaigning he's able to do.
I will point out. Oh, well, no, I guess. Yeah, it's always higher than Montana statewide. In 2020, there was still higher turnout in Blaine County than there was in 2018 and 2012 when Tester was on the ballot.
Yes.
But
that 2020 was just like the crazy year where everyone and their mom voted.
Yeah.
Right. That was just, because COVID made it really easy to mail in. But the point is, so now Democrats know this is the way that they need to win the state. They're pouring in a lot of money. They are investing $1 million over the next 6 months. That is into just a couple counties to target the Native American vote. That is nearly double the $600,000 that they targeted Native American voters with in 2008 campaign. They're almost doubling their investment into this community. And Republicans know that Tester needs the Native American vote to win, and they're doing anything they can to stop him from getting a win to go back and tell the Native Americans about.
Okay.
Here's an example. In April 2023, there was a bipartisan package of bills led by Tester that included one to make VA home loans directly available for Native Americans, but it failed to pass a procedural vote in the Senate that shocked many people on Capitol Hill. It passed out of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs unanimously, but a handful of GOP senators, including some who previously supported it, voted against it on the floor. And when John Cornyn, one of the Senate leaders in the Republican caucus from Texas, was asked about it, he says, "You all know we don't need to talk about that right now."
They make my blood boil.
Boil, dude. The politicking is ripe, intense, and it's just
disgusting.
Gross. It's gross.
Disgusting.
If a Democrat did this, it's disgusting.
Oh yeah.
If like I was one of the, I remember in 2020 when Trump wanted to pass those $2,000 checks before the Georgia Senate races, and I said, do it. I don't care if it would have helped David Perdue get elected or whatever. I wanted those $2,000 checks to come out.
Yeah.
So
brutal.
But that's how Jon Tester wins in Montana Senate race, by investing and showing his good representative quality to the Native American community.
Thanks for watching this episode of Out of Order.
Love it that you made it this far.
This week on Patreon, we've got an update in the Montana Senate race with Jon Tester. We've got the U.S. and the Taiwan navies doing joint exercises, and the Biden administration has revoked a license to sell semiconductors to Chinese company Huawei.
In addition to that, we have our deep dive this week on Chinese overproduction. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a threat to global markets or a positive? Well, find out on our Friday video.